it feels very appropriate that I am finishing my official World Vision career here, where it all began. So it is really my joy that God brought me back to Korea to finish and celebrate my time with World Vision. World Vision and I were born the same year, yes, and World Vision was a much more demanding baby than I was. And it's incredible to see World Vision becoming stronger and more impactful around the world as I am growing older. So World Vision is remarkable in the way God is continuing to use us. Many organizations do not last 70 years. And we are very proud that World Vision is still growing and strong and doing such remarkable work. My clearest memories of my father are of going to the airport to meet him when he would come home from a trip. We would all be so excited, and I remember as a child running to his arms and the feel of his arms around me, and he would smell like the Orient. He would smell like Korea and Japan, and I loved that smell because it was my daddy. It was his smell when he would come home. I remember he would always take us someplace fun, like Disneyland, try to do something nice for us because my father traveled 10 months out of every year, my entire life. So we didn't have a lot of time with him. It wasn't that my dad didn't love us, we just didn't have time together. And so when he would come home, he would need to go to the office, he would need to write, he would need to go do radio broadcasts. There were many things for him to do, even though he was back in California. He wasn't really home to be with us. So I don't really, I have memories of watching TV with my dad. I don't have many. Watching him preach. I remember being with him in meetings, many meetings, to see him preach. And I was so proud of the way people would come to hear him preach. And I remember how proud I was when I would stand beside him and he would put his arm around me and say, "This is my daughter." That made me very proud. Well, it was different for me than my older sister Sharon because I never knew anything different. My father began traveling when I was 3 months old, so I never knew what it was to have a father home. And honestly, I missed him, but it didn't bother me a lot because this was just the way life was. So it was harder for my older sister. She was 9 years older than me, and she knew what it was to have her daddy with her. And so when he suddenly started traveling so much, she really missed him, and it was harder for her. Actually, my husband Bob and I had just gotten married, and my father helped us to go on a lovely honeymoon. So we were away for a couple of weeks, and then we came home, and I called my father, and I remember his words. He said, "Sweetheart, your daddy's going home." And I went, "You're going home?" And he meant, "I'm going home to heaven." And he said it with joy, because for a Christian to go home to heaven with Jesus is a wonderful thing, not something to despair over. And my father had such great faith. I think he believed that he had done his job. He had poured his life out on the altar, and now God was saying, "Come home." So it was hard for us. My sister Robin and I would have loved to have more time with him. We would have loved him to have known our children. We were both pregnant with our babies when the last time we were with him before he died. But we had a wonderful dinner, a celebration dinner with my father, the whole family, my mother, my sisters, our daughter, Michelle, who was about 2. And we just praised God together for all he had done and loved each other. And 3 days later, my father was with Jesus. So it was sad, but it was also victorious. I might also say that one of the things I do with World Vision is to talk to our staff around the world about how important it is to balance and prioritize their time well, because all of us can give too much to our work and not enough to our families. So I can speak to our leadership and to our staff to encourage them to be wise about how we balance our lives, because my father burned out. He burned out physically, emotionally, and he died at the age of 63 from leukemia. I believe that if he had balanced his life better, gotten more rest, had more time with his family, which would have encouraged him, he would have lived many more years and done more for God and for other people. So it's important that we learn that lesson. Yes, I think it's very important. We live in a world with so much information. We go on the internet and we can be around the world and we see so much suffering. It is hard to believe that we can really make a difference. What can I do? I'm just one person. How can I help all this pain and suffering? But you see, that is exactly how my father felt when he came to Korea and he saw all the pain and the suffering. He thought, what can I do? How can I make a difference? But you see, he understood that just because you can't do everything for everyone, you can still do something for someone. Through World Vision, we have made changing the world very simple. You can sponsor one child. And if many of us sponsor just one child in a community, we change the world for them. Then they grow up and they change the world around them. It is a wonderful ripple effect. It goes on and on and on. It's like dropping the pebble in water. My father used to say, you have no excuse for not doing what you can do. We aren't asking people to give big amounts of money. You don't have to leave the comfort of your home, like Bob Pierce did, and go to another country. But every one of us must refuse to do nothing. See, that's what we do. We think because we can't do everything, I'll just do nothing. I would say to every single person who hears this voice that you can sponsor a child. It is such a little amount of money. The price of a few Starbucks coffees. And you will change the world. So you have no excuse. You have no excuse. Simply do what you can, and God will use that to change the world.